This is the final section of the Going for Goals and Keep on Learning presentation. So we're going to have a look now at some brilliant examples of good practice across the whole theme and make links with some of other approaches that you may be familiar with. So in an earlier section, I talked a little about how work on growth mindset links very well with all the topics within this theme. So lots of schools have completed activities that aim to kind of change children's internal dialogue, if you like. So changing "this is too hard" to "I need to break this down into smaller steps," or maybe "I need to do a little bit more practice," and so on. What this school have done, which I thought was worth celebrating, was put examples up on post-its of some of those kind of internal dialogues that we have with ourselves, and then ask children to come up with different ways of saying it from within a growth mindset perspective, and then displaying those on post-its to help children with their learning throughout the school day. This is a primary school in Southampton, Mason Moor, and they read a picture book called Stuck by Oliver Jeffers. Now that is available actually on YouTube there, so I've put the link in and they can watch him, the author actually read through the book. But then they wrote down the strategies for how they could keep on learning when they were stuck with their work, and how they could keep on when it got difficult. And this is, I thought, a lovely link really to just promoting agency in the classroom, just through a kind of everyday literacy activity. So, nice example of good practice. There is a link, link that's often kind of linked to this sort of work is an approach by somebody called Guy Claxton, who you may have come across, and the approach is called building learning power. Lots of schools actually use this, and again it links very well with this theme. You can see from this that there's some overlap of areas, so being stuck, managing distractions, finding that courage inside to rise to challenge, and working towards goals. So all those are part of what Guy Claxton calls resilience, which is one of 4 kind of essential building blocks of the approach. So it's quite nice to know how that links in. But the other part of this that might be quite helpful for teachers, I think, is that they link this to teaching about learning, that kind of metacognition. So they might teach children, young people, about the different zones of learning. So here we've got the comfort zone, the stretch zone, and the panic zone. And lots of schools use these to describe different types of learning zones. It's quite nice to link this in really to work on setting goals. So work on setting goals might be seen as being in the stretch zone, and then possibly, you know, when you're a little bit bored and you're managing, you've got to keep going with a task, and that linking that kind of persistence aspect maybe to the comfort zone where you can get a little bit bored and demotivated. How do we keep ourselves going through that? And then possibly also linking it to the panic zone, you know, and you think, oh, I just can't do this, and maybe look at the impact of breaking things down into smaller steps and taking us hopefully back into that stretch zone as well. So another kind of approach that is quite helpful to link with the Going for Goals. So you might like to look that one up and see what that has to offer if you're not already familiar with it. I talked at the beginning about a school, Bluebell Hill in Nottingham, who ran a reward programme linked to their Going for Goals work. And this is another school here, Stow on the Wold Primary School, that did a similar thing, but I really liked their post box that they added to their kind of reception display, so that raffle tickets from any member of staff, or I don't know who else they included actually, but certainly members of staff could post those raffle tickets that would then feed into the draw at the celebration assembly. So I thought that was quite nice. And just thought I'd share with you one experience I had of visiting a school that was doing a SEL theme at the time. And the student who kind of showed me where reception was when I inevitably got lost, as I always do, was incredibly polite and helpful and just chatty and lovely. And I asked at reception if there was a way that I could kind of, let his teacher know or whatever. And she not only knew the student's name, which was really, really good sign, I thought, of an positive emotional health and wellbeing environment, but also said, oh yes, of course, you can give a raffle ticket. And she wrote the name on one side, and I was able to put the number in to be drawn that Friday. So I thought that was rather good, that even visitors to the school could contribute to that kind of noticing and rewarding focus. I highlighted a lovely video earlier of demonstrating persistence. That was the little bears climbing the snowy mountain. And of course, there's a huge amount on YouTube, but this one I just thought was worth looking at for a moment if you can. It's a great song called Don't Give Up with Bruno Mars. And I think it would probably be really, although it's Sesame Street, really good for all ages. Here it is. Another really good video here for perhaps older learners is this video montage of David Beckham at different ages. I think it starts with very blurry footage when he's about 7. And when at least when he was in primary school, I think, and it traces how he kind of built on steps to achieve his dream, one step at a time, and to become the famous footballer that we're all familiar with. This particular school, Hove Park School, they used it as part of a tutor group session for their Year 11 cohort as a kind of motivational device for their coming GCSEs. And you can see the task that was part of that tutor group task. And I really liked the way that was differentiated there, leaving learners to choose for themselves whether they wanted to answer the red, green or amber challenge questions, which I thought was quite a nice demonstration of agency as well. So yeah, another one to kind of watch, track down and watch if you think that might be helpful in your context. Oh, this one, yes, this school, Woldingham School in Surrey. There was an article that we picked up in the Times Ed, and they had implemented a whole school approach to achieving goals and persisting in the face of challenge. I really liked this. I think it took place over a term or so, and they started off by showing all the year groups different sorts of motivational videos of the sort that we've referenced several times. And then Year 7, all the year groups were given different tasks that were related to this theme. And Year 7 were given mystery challenge boxes. So they ranged, let me have a look, sampling of food they'd never eaten, or agreeing to run a year meeting the following week. The tutors gathered pupils' ideas about breaking up difficult tasks into those tasks or those small steps. And at the end of the session, oh no, it looks like it happened in a morning, which was quite nice, maybe on a kind of rota basis. I'm not quite sure about that. But they signed up to a 30-day challenge to try something new, which I quite liked. And the Year 8s, they focused on what it meant to fail. So they looked at failure, they thought about failure, and they contributed to a graffiti wall, which they wrote the things that they told themselves when they failed. And then this became the kind of focus of discussion. So they were saying things like loser and you're hopeless and so on. And these were challenged and reframed in the subsequent discussions. So they were then given a 7-day booklet to fill in called Epic Fails. And in that, they were encouraged to write down one failure every day, how they felt at the time. They were given a list of emotion words and so on, and how they overcame that. And then obviously that was all shared, how they bounced back from those failures. It went on and, through the year groups. But then what I particularly loved is the staff had a challenge too, and it was a flat pack challenge. They had to put together flat pack furniture with instructions missing, and frankly I can't do it with the instructions intact, so I'd be very interested to see how they manage that, particularly in terms of teamwork. Subject teachers across all subjects develop their own challenges within their subject areas as well, so that these ideas were reinforced as part of that 80% that I've talked so much about across the curriculum. And it seems to have worked. If you look at the quote there that inspectors knows, I'll give you a moment to have a look at that. It certainly seemed to have done the job, so it was quite nice to replicate, possibly. I think all of us would be happy to have a comment from inspectors that said along those lines. There's many, many more examples of the sort of motivational videos that Walsingham used to kind of get things going, and these are two. They're not for now, but they're really quite inspirational and fun to watch for adults and young people, actually. The kind of tear-jerking, Korean boy who overcame everything to achieve his ambition on Korea's Got Talent. And this was one of my particular favourites, the Landfill Orchestra. Watch it, it's absolutely extraordinary. It says here, watch the first 54 seconds and you'll be hooked. Incredible group of children. It's South America. They live on a rubbish tip and they recycled the rubbish to make instruments and play absolutely beautifully. So yeah, lovely to have a look at that one. Not for now, but at another time. This idea I quite liked. It's one that might be useful for a cluster or a federation of schools. So in my local authority, we had a competition. It was actually really popular and motivating, far more than we had anticipated. We had an awful lot of entries. So they were invited to submit work, and there was a range of things they could use. So pictures or PowerPoint presentations, photo displays, stories, sculptures, all sorts of things came through the door. And it was to demonstrate what they had learned through SEL. Obviously, you could use any theme for that, but lots of them did take achieving your goals for work they'd been doing on that through the SEL programme. There were prizes, good prizes, and the competition, was given a lot of status. It was judged by local bigwigs, including the Director of Education and local councillors. And then we had a presentation in the local council chambers with a press report and so on. So it was really well attended, and it seemed to really motivate and mean something to the young people. We made a book then of the winning entries in each category, and we've provided all of the schools with a copy of that, so they can kind of see what social and emotional learning can look like, and obviously that can be shared with young people. There's a couple more examples on the next slide. There's a story and then a motivational poster that some young people in one of our secondary schools put together. You may be familiar with this, but for each primary theme, so here going for goals, there's a book list available as part of the SEL Whole School Resources, focusing on all of those themes that we've been looking at today. They're organised by year groups, but they're of course a little bit out of date now. So if you are interested in generating some more up-to-date book lists, you can search on the SEL community website for book lists, and you'll find updated lists that have been contributed by teachers. Also quite useful, we found, is another whole school resource from the SEL Resources, and these are photos. There are about 150 for primary and secondary, They're freely available, and there's over 150, I think, of different emotions and scenarios. They're really good for displays, for sharing, for generating discussion and so on. So well worth having a look through those. You know, if you've got a few minutes spare time at any point, can be really, really helpful. They've also actually got questions on the back to ask. So, you know, rather than the kind of, oh, what emotion is this showing, you know, and then kind of, yeah, sad, very good. They've got a range of questions that you can ask to generate really good quality discussion. I have mentioned previously the importance of adult behaviour and adult responses in supporting the development of efficacy, and I wanted to share these examples of very helpful language that we can kind of develop as whole school staffs as scripts. And the book that these are taken from has a chapter which is dedicated to research, practice, and really down to earth case studies and examples from classrooms right across the UK in developing self-efficacy. It is by my much cleverer colleague, Jean Gross, and I would say if you only do one thing after this presentation, then read chapter 7 of this, and everything that we've covered will come alive for you reading that. It's a really, really good resource. So finally, before we finish, as always, we would really, really like to hear about what you're doing in your setting to achieve the outcomes that we've been looking at today. You're welcome to send us photos, videos, or just tell us about what works in your setting in this area. There's 3 ideas there for you to have a think about, and with your permission, we'll share those the next time we do a session like this one. It'd be great to have any ideas that that you have. That's how we've got this one, and it would be great to keep extending that. So thank you. So we've come to the end of the session here. Just a couple of reminders. If I just go to my notes here. You can download the SEL booklets for Going for Goals and the secondary versions for Keep On Learning by logging into the SEL community. And you don't have to be a member to do that, but you do have to be registered. But that's free and fairly quick, so quite easy to do. If you're downloading the secondary set, do be aware that there are 2 booklets for each year group. One for resources and one for the learning opportunities, the activities. And if you're looking for the Welsh versions, it's important you're aware that so far only the resources books have been translated. So you'll need to access the English versions for the activity booklets at secondary for year 7, 8 and 9. I think it is helpful if you have a few minutes to spare, just in a group or individually, to have a look, have a think through the ideas written on this slide as a kind of plenary. We know the importance of plenaries in education, but just kind of think back over what you've done in the session, and you know, to kind of help you to retain that and have a little recap. And when you've done that, there's just a couple more slides, 2 more I think, which are show you the takeaway. We always try to leave you with something immediately helpful, and the takeaway for this session, there's a primary and a secondary version, and they're actually self-assessment packs. One for primary, there's one for each age range in primary, and one more suitable for older learners, which is called How Gritty Am I? A 12-point grit scale. So we're looking at kind of, you know, character and grit and so on in that. They're both available as handouts with the sessions, or you can download them from the SEL community website. So many thanks for watching the presentation today. We wish you all the best in putting it all into practice, as always, and don't forget, we'd love to hear how it goes, or what you're already doing that links into this theme. So thank you very much, and I'll just flag up those 2 last slides for your take.